Shalom, everybody. This is the I.S.U.P.K UK. I'm Officer Parasha of the I.S.U.P.K. As you know, it's the 5th of December, which will be the feast of Hanukkah, or in the Hebrew, Kanaka, which means dedications. So the class today, we're going to breaking down the feast of dedications. Now, some people say, well, I should, well, not we personally, but some Christians and other denominations say that, well, the feast of Hanukkah is not in the Bible, which is a lie. So the first scripture that we're going to get is in John chapter 10 and verse 22, just to show that the feast of Hanukkah is in the Bible, and our King Jesus the Christ, he also followed the feast of Hanukkah too.
John 10:22, and it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication.
The feast of the what?
Of the dedication.
Now the word Hanukkah in Hebrew, it means dedication. So now he was letting them know that it was the feast of dedication. So now even Yahushua, he was in Jerusalem when it was the feast of dedication, showing that the Jews was also partaking in the so-called Hanukkah redone.
And it was winter.
And it was winter. So the time when dedication comes, the feast of dedications is the winter. As you can see, we're in December, which is one of the most coldest times of this winter time. So, you know, so just to let you know that this is in the Bible, and it's a feast that even our King Jesus the Christ, he followed too. So now the feast of Hanukkah, online, does anyone know what it is about, or what happened at the time so that we had the feast of Hanukkah, or like online or in the class as well?
It's when we got the temple back from the Greeks.
That's correct, yeah. So now what we're going to do, we're going to read through the first book of Maccabees first, and then also we're going to give you the precepts on it too, because yeah, the only place you will find where the feast of Hanukkah began isn't the Apocrypha, but it also is prophesied in the book of Daniel as well, that basically like with the Greeks, that they would basically win, become the powerful empire on the world at that time, and also that they would also come against us. So we're going to be, you know, reading the first book of Maccabees and also going into the Bible prophecies as well. So if you could, first Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1.
First Maccabees 1 and 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shechem, had smitten Darius of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
All right, so now this Alexander, talking about Alexander the Great, as they call him. So Alexander the Great, he conquered the Persians and the Medes as well, and then he became the first king over Greece. So now, for those that don't know, he conquered them, and then all the empire that basically the Persians and the Medes had, he took over all of that. So from Babylon, which is in Iraq, all the way till northern Africa, he took over all that. But before we read on, we're gonna go back to that, but let's get Daniel chapter 8 and verse 20.
Daniel 8 and 20. The ram which thou sawest, having 2 horns, are the kings of Media and Persia.
All right. So for those who have not read the book of Daniel before, every empire was basically represented in an animal form. So now this ram with its horns, that represented the Persians and the Medes. Read on.
Verse 21. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia,
Mhm.
and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
There, so Alexander, he was that first king of Greece. So now he took over the Persians and the Medes, and he became the first official king of Greece. If everyone understands. All right, so let's get back to First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 2.
First Maccabees 1 and 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
Yeah, so with the Greeks, they was very powerful empire. They conquered lots of lands, took over many parts of the world at that time. Read on.
Verse 3. And went to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
So he conquered that much land that the earth was quiet before him, meaning that there was nowhere else which there was no other land or no kingdom around him which he could conquer at that time. And because of that, his heart, meaning his mind, he got raised up, meaning he thought it was invincible, he thought it was untouchable. Read on.
Verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
So because he ruled over them, they became tributaries unto him, meaning they had to give him gold, animals, basically anything valuable. They had to hand it over unto him. Read on.
Verse 5. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth,
Mhm.
and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
Yeah, so before he was about to die, basically with his four generals, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, Cassandra, and Antagonist, he basically divided up his kingdom amongst them. So now some ruled like one part, but basically it was divided between them four. Read on.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place.
Mhm.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Yeah, so once he died, they all put crowns upon themselves. So I'm the king of this part, the king of another part, and their sons. So when they died, their sons in their position, they became kings, and many wickedness was multiplied in the earth. Why? Because for those that don't know, Greeks they practice a lot of simple things, homosexuality, and like even bestiality. Alexander was known for sleeping with like, his horse. There's one horse which he always had, which when he ever had war, that was a horse that he would ride. He was known for also sleeping with that horse as well. But hold that, we're gonna go to Daniel chapter 8 and verse 8. So now, when he died, he passed his kingdom on to those who basically was always around him. So let's back this up. Let's get Daniel chapter 8 and verse 8.
Daniel 8 and 8. Therefore the goat, therefore the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
So now this is talking about Alexander. So now he was very strong, and when he was broken, meaning that he died. Read on.
And for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
Yeah, so now in the book of Maccabees, it said that those that were with him from like his childhood, they basically got the crowns. But in the book of Daniel, it says four notable ones, meaning that there was his four top generals at that time. Skip to verse 22.
Daniel 8:22. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand out of the nation, but not in his power.
There's now once he died, 4 kings came up, but it wasn't to his power, meaning that they wasn't related unto him. Usually, when a king dies, his son takes it. But Alexander, he didn't have any kids, because he like men, which is which even in history books can back it up. So because he didn't, basically his power and his kingdom, it went on to his friends or his 4 generals. And let's get back to First Maccabees 1 and 10. I mean, is everyone with me so far? Haven't lost anybody?
Alright.
Seen that? I was making sure. All right. First Maccabees 1 and 10.
First Maccabees 1 and 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
There, so now he's a son of Kingdom Antiochus. Now, as what we read up above, they took crowns upon themselves and their kids. So now he's reigning in his position. And let's prove in the Bible. Let's get Daniel chapter 8 and verse 9.
Daniel 8 and 9. And out of one of them came, and out of one of them came forth a little horn.
Now this horn is talking about is Antiochus, which we read about in the book of Maccabees. Read on.
Which waxed exceedingly great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land.
And toward the pleasant land, representing the land of Jerusalem. Even so now this talking about him. Now skip to verse 23.
Verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
So now, if you read on later in the book of Maccabees, he wiped us out. Basically, he was destroying us. Now, this king is talking about him. So now, because we broke the laws of the Most High, this is why this king came against us. Next verse.
Verse 24. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power.
And there, so this power that he got, it wasn't by himself. It was from the Most High. Read on.
And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people.
And there, the mighty and the holy people is us. So now, through his craft, basically through his decrees and like in his laws, he destroyed us. But we'll get through that. Let's go back to First Maccabees 1 and verse 11.
First Maccabees 1:11. In those days when there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
So now they're saying, well, you know what? Let's make an agreement with these heathen that are round about us, because since we departed from them, we've been really sad. Like basically, they can't do what they want to do anymore. And also you see that today as well. A lot of people, following the laws is good, but some people they see it as it's all pressing them, it's making them sad. So likewise with these wicked men, they felt the same way, and they wanted to go and be like everybody else. Read on.
Verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them a license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
There, so basically in the land of Jerusalem, they could not do this. Why? Because we follow the law, statutes, and commandments. So they went to the king, who gave them a license, so that basically they can do it. So they can go back to Jerusalem and go, well, the king that rules over this part, he said that we can. Read on.
Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathen.
Yeah, so they built a place of exercise. Now with the Greeks, they were known for exercising, gyms, wrestling, discus. You know what I mean? And matter of fact, when you watch the Olympics, that came from the Greeks. But I mean, even though now you may see a man wearing spandex, back then they didn't wear anything at all. Even when they was wrestling, they wouldn't wear anything. So we took on that kind of custom as well. Is that something?
Yeah, even the Olympics, they come from Mount Olympus.
That's right.
And gym means, come from the Greek word gymnos, meaning naked.
Nakedness here. So now we were starting to do that. We were starting to do boxing, discus, javelins. Meaning, so now in Jerusalem, we're starting to also partake in those sports. But now in this part it goes in those days, wicked men. Now let's go to Second Maccabees 3:1. Let's find out who these wicked men were.
Second Maccabees 3:1. Now when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well, because of the godliness of Ananias, the high priest, and his hatred of wickedness.
So now, with the high priest that he had at that time, he hated wickedness. So the land of Jerusalem, it was kept as it was supposed to be. Everyone's following the law, statutes, and the commandments. Everything's going right according to the eyes of the Most High. Read on.
Verse 2. And it came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts, insomuch that Seleucus, king of Asia, of his own revenues, bare all the cost belonging to the service of the sacrifices.
Mhm.
But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city.
So now, in First Maccabees 1 and I think it's the 15th verse about these wicked men. Over here, it shows you how it began. So a man from the tribe of Benjamin, he fell out with the priest. Now we're going to read on about what more that he did. Second Maccabees, the fourth chapter and verse 1.
Second Maccabees 4:1. This Simon now, of whom we spake afore, having been a betrayer of the money and of his country, slandered Ananias, as if he had terrified Helodorus, and being the worker of these evils.
So now this one man, because he had a disagreement with the high priest, he started to basically go off and basically was trying to betray everybody and was a slanderer of the high priest as well. Read on.
Thus was he bold to call him a traitor that had deserved well of the city, and tended his own nation, and was zealous of the laws.
Mhm.
But when their hatred went so far that by one of Simon's factions murders were committed.
So now his hatred grew so strong that eventually the people that was under him, they started to kill people. So in First Maccabees it goes, these wicked men, it's in this man from the tribe of Benjamin and his friends. So now because of that disagreement that they had, now it's starting to become where, they just want to just mess things up. Which, the Bible says, if you have a problem, go to you and your brother alone. But obviously with this man, he did not, and then his hatred started to grow to where people started to get killed afterwards. But read on.
Verse 4. Ananias, seeing the danger of his contention, and that Aponius, as being the governor of Seleucia and Phoenice, did rage and increase Simon's malice.
Mhm.
he went to the king not to be an accuser of his countrymen, but seeking the good of all, both public and private, for he saw that it was impossible that the state should continue quiet, and Simon leave his folly, unless the king did look thereunto. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Ananias, labored underhand to be the high priest,
Yep.
promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents.
All right. So now what they're trying to do is now whoever becomes a high priest, they can say what goes on. So now he's trying to pay Antiochus so that now he can become the high priest at Jerusalem. So now this is where the wickedness is started to begin. Read on.
Verse 9. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more,
Mhm.
if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise and for the training up of the youth in the fashion of the heathen.
All right. So now that part there, where did we just read that?
First Maccabees.
In First Maccabees. Now over here it tells you how it began. In First Maccabees, it just basically flies over it. But over here it tells you more of the background of what happened. So now with this high priest, them being as wicked as they could, they wanted him gone. So now they went to the king and like, we'll pay you if you make, this man become a priest, and we will also, make him do Greek exercises and also follow the fashions of the Greeks too. Read on.
In the fashion of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of the Antiochians.
There, so now we won't be called the Israelites anymore. They will call us Antiochians, which means like we come from him. Reason why? Because we be following their ways and like their customs as well. Read on.
Which when the king had granted, and he had gotten into the hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion, and the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Hippolytus, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid, he took away, and putting down the government which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law.
So now with this man, he basically took away the laws of the Most High, and instead now we're following the laws of the Greeks. Now with this man, he went to Rome. Like he was basically trying to support us, meaning that if the Greeks was to come against us with the Romans, they would be on like our part. But now even that man, he also took him away. So he's basically saying that we're gonna stick by the Greeks and ain't no one else going to adopt that. So anyone that was against it, he got resident. So let's get First Maccabees 1:14.
First Maccabees 1:14, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem.
Now, as what we read in the scriptures before, we know how this began and more of the background history behind that. Read on.
According to the custom of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
Yeah, so once we started to do the exercises, we forgot the covenant of the Most High and the laws, and we were more into the games. Like think of it today, many blacks and Hispanics, we're more into sports than anything else. If you look at any top sport, we dominate that. Boxing, running, high jumping. We're the ones that dominate it. So like we forgot the laws of the Most High, and we were more concerned with taking in part of this. So we was more concerned in taking part of that. Read on.
Verse 16. And when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion over 2 realms.
All right. So now, when Alexander died, Ptolemy he took over the Egyptian side of the world. So of his kingdom, he ruled over that. So now with Kingdom and Antiochus, he wanted to also take over some of Ptolemy's land. So he wanted to expand his kingdom. Read on.
Verse 17. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death.
Yeah, so he won that land. King Ptolemy, he was afraid of him. So instead of him fighting against him for his land, he saw all of the weaponry that he had, and said, you know what, I just need to go. So for that he fled. Read on.
Verse 19. Thus they got the strong cities in the land, and of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Yes, now, so once he won that war, on his return, because Jerusalem on land is the only way to get to the Egyptian land. So once he had won, on his return, he came up against us. Verse 20.
Verse 20 and 21.
And you can't read.
And entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light.
So now, once he had conquered us, he entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light. Now, for those that don't know, the candlestick of light is talking about the menorah, the one where basically he's got the branches coming out on the side. So now he also took that away for Ramos as well. Read on.
And all the vessels thereof.
And all the vessels thereof. So the plates, the golden cups, everything that was in the sanctuary, he took all that because it's very valuable. Cups made out of gold is really valuable. That's all.
Exodus 25. Candlestick 20.
Yeah, you want the no? So we're gonna go to Exodus 25 and which verse?
31.
All right, Exodus 25 and verse 31.
This is the candlestick going on.
Yeah, just to let you know what the candlestick is on about. I did say it, but this scripture will also back that up.
Exodus 25:31. And thou shalt make a candlestick.
Thou shalt make a what?
A candlestick.
A candlestick. The same candlestick that we're talking about in the first book of Maccabees. Read on.
Of pure gold, of beaten work, shall the candlestick be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers shall be the same.
All right. So for those that don't know, you can read that part again about the shaft and the branches.
And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be made.
Now, when it says of beaten work, meaning that you have to hit it to make it be shaped the way that you want. It doesn't just come made like that. So with a hammer, you have to beat it to make it the way to make it into the shape that you want it to be. Read on.
Okay. His shaft and his.
So now with that part there, the shaft, that's the main part. So basically now that's the main strength of it. So now with the shaft, that'll be the main part that stands up. Read on.
And his branches.
And his branches. So with the shaft, the parts that come off the shaft, there will be the branches. Read on.
His bowls.
His bowls. So now once you see a branch, you see it looks like a bowl. So once you see the branch, on top of the branch, you'll see like a bowl part. We done.
His knops.
And his knops. the part that stands up on top of the bowls, we done,
and his flowers,
and his flowers as well. So now, basically, now that's letting you know how the menorah, what we call the menorah, how it should look like, in one that
God, shall be the same.
shall be the same. So on every part of it, it shall be the same. So no menorah that you see, one branch shouldn't be longer than the other one. All of it should be the same.
And 6 branches shall come out of the sides,
And there and 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it. So that's why you have the one in the middle, and you got 3 on like either side coming out. So now altogether that will be 6, and the one in the middle, that's one as well. And one
3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side,
there, as I said, so 3 of them do come out of one side. We done,
and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side.
and the same on the other side as well. In one that was that pretty much. All right, no sweat. First Maccabees 1:21.
First Maccabees 1:21, and he entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof,
We done.
and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censer of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
Yeah, so he took everything valuable that was in the temple of the Most High. He took it, the candlestick, anything, even things that was outside. He also pulled them up. So if they was on the wall, he also took all that too. Verse 23.
Verse 23, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were.
Yeah, so everywhere we was upset. Why? Because the temple that we had, it was basically ransacked. They took everything valuable, and also they had destroyed us too. So anywhere we were, so if you was at Jerusalem and it happened unto you, or you was in a place around Jerusalem, you was upset because your people have been destroyed. So basically, you was upset. But now let's find out what happened, why he came against Jerusalem. Let's get 2 Maccabees chapter 5 and verse 1.
Second Maccabees 5:1. About the same time, Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt.
So in First Maccabees, it lets you know that he fought against King Ptolemy. Now over here, it's expounding it, it's showing you what happened more in depth. Read on.
And then prepared that through all the city for the space almost of 40 days there were seen horsemen running in the air in cloth of gold and armed with lances like a band of a soldier.
Yeah, so in the sky, they could see the angelic beings of the Most High. So they was in gold. They had lances in their hands like a band. Read on.
Verse 3, and troops of horsemen in array, encountering and running one against another, with shaking of shields, and multitudes of pikes, and drawing of swords, and casting of darts, and glittering of gold ornaments, and harness of all sorts. Wherefore every man prayed that a portion might turn to good. Now, when there was gone forth a false rumor, as though Antiochus had been dead, Jason took at the least 1,000 men and suddenly made an assault upon the city.
Yeah, so when he heard that the king was dead, Jason, who is a Jew, he's an Israelite too. He thought, well, if he's dead, I'm going to take over. Why? Because the high priest at the time, them two didn't get on. So he thought in his mind, well, if like the kingdom and Theoshus is dead, I might as well basically try and become the high priest myself, but by hand. You know?
And they that were upon the walls being put back, and the city at length taken, Menelaus fled into the castle, but Jason slew his own citizens.
He did what?
Slew his own citizens.
So he was that greedy to become high priest that much. He's even killing his own people. You know?
Without mercy, not considering not considering that to get the day of them of his own nation would be the most unhappy day for him, but thinking they had been his enemies and not his countrymen whom be conquered.
There, so he didn't understand that by him doing that, the end of it is not going to be good for him. You know, he thought he's going to kill who wanted dead, then he will become a high priest. But obviously, of course, the Most High, he's got a plan for somebody like that. Read on.
Back in verse
The 7th verse.
Verse 7. Howbeit, for all this he obtained not the principality, but at the last received shame for the reward of his treason, and fled again into the country of the Ammonites.
Yeah, so now he had to flee to another land. Why? Because you harming innocent people, that's called treason, which even today is basically even today as well. If someone does that, that's an act of war where basically another army can come into your land and they can basically take it from you because you're basically hurting innocent people that haven't done you any wrong. Read on.
Verse 8. In the end thereof, he had an unhappy return, being accused before Aretas the king of the Arabians, fleeing from city to city, pursued all men, hated as a forsaker of the laws, and being had in abomination as an open enemy of his countrymen.
Right. So now, because of that, he had to flee from land to land. He thought it would just went to the Ammonites land and anything would have been fine. But because of what he did, everybody knew who he was and he had to flee. So from one land to another. Well, let's get to the point. Let's get in the same book of Maccabees, skip to verse 11. Second Maccabees 5 and 11.
Now when this that was done came to the king's ear, he thought that Judea had revolted, whereupon removing out of Egypt in a furious mind, he took the city by force of arms, and commanded his men of war not to spare such as they met, and to slay such as went upon the houses.
So now, with all the war that was basically going on in the land, he thought that we was revolting against him. So now he's commanded the people that are beneath him, when you go in there, kill everyone and don't survey. Why? Because of what that man done, and then he believed as well. When he heard about it, he thought that it was a revolt. Read on.
Verse 13. Thus there was killing of young and old, making away of men, women and children, slaying of virgins and infants, and there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole days 80,000, wherefore 40,000 were slain in the conflict, and no fewer sold than slain. Yet was he not content with this, but presumed to go to the most holy temple of all the world.
There's now in the book of First Maccabees, it basically says he went into the temple and he basically took away the candlestick. But over here, it lets you know that he went into the temple, but what happened before that? Just a little bit more information on that. Read on.
Menelaus, that traitor, to the laws, and his own country being his guide.
Being his guide. So he didn't just do it by himself. This Uncle Tom, or this coon bounty, or any term that you will use, he's actually guiding him into where he should go and what things that he should take as well. Read on.
Verse 16, and taking the holy vessels with polluted hands and with profane hands, pulling down the things that were dedicated by other kings to his argumentation and glory and honor of the place, he gave them away.
Yeah, so once he took these things, he also gave them away. So he didn't really want it. That was just to show us, like, basically who's boss. Like, how they like rebel against me, even though we did not, but he didn't understand. But for what he heard, he had assumed that. So now, from that point there, we was destroyed as a people. Let's get to First Book of Maccabees, chapter 2. But in the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 1. So now we've been destroyed. Our people are following the customs of the Greeks doing the Olympics. So now there arose a man called Master Pius, and now we're going to go into him and read about him and how the revolt began also as well.
First Maccabees 2 and 1. In those days rose Matthias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Medin. And he had 5 sons: Jonathan, called Cadiz, Simon, called Thassi.
Right. Yeah, basically that's just a genealogy. You can skip to the 6th verse.
Verse 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people?
Yeah, so when he came to Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me, meaning destruction is me. Like, but why was I born to even see this? Which is kind of like what we see today. Black people on drugs, the women getting like 6 men, and basically as a people, when you find out that you're an Israelite and you got law, statutes, and commandments, when you see the condition of how your people are now, it makes you think, woe is me. So him going around Jerusalem, he was shocked at what he saw, like, woe is me. Our people trying to be like the Greeks. Read on.
And of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary unto the hands of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory.
So her temple is become as a man without glory, meaning the temples look so run down. Before it was decked in gold. You had the candlestick there. Like the temple's like a man without no goodness, meaning it just looks so plain, run down. There was nothing special about it as before. Read on.
Verse 9. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
Therein, we can also see that today. Her young infants are slain in the streets. Black on black crime. But of course, at this time it was the Greeks. They was killing us, meaning if you did not want to follow the customs of the Greeks, you was put to death. Like the woman who, her sons and her, they didn't want to eat any swine flesh, and they was burnt alive in a frying pan. So now the young ones, they were slain in the streets. We done.
Verse 10. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she is become a bond slave.
Yeah, so our people, believe it or not, you're supposed to be free, meaning you're not supposed to be working for anyone else, being under tributaries under anyone else. But again, because our people sin against the Lord, we have become the bond slaves, meaning we be working for everyone else. But even at this time, he saw it like we're supposed to be free, but we're not. The Greeks are clearly all oppressing us, and we're following their way of life. And if you refuse, then you was forced to die. That was the punishment for that time. Read on.
Verse 12. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end thereof shall we live any longer?
Yeah, so from what he's seen, he wants to die. Like, for what reason should I live any longer? So even he knew, like, well, if I'm looking at this, then why am I alive? He was that upset that he wanted to die, basically. But read on.
Verse 14. Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put sackcloth and mourned very sore.
Mhm.
In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into Modin to make them a sacrifice.
All right, so now with a officer of the king, he came to basically now he came to compel people to revolt. So so in certain like towns around Jerusalem, there was people still following the law that had not yet followed the Greeks' way of life. So the officer of the king, he came to them to make them revolt. Why? Because if someone's popular in that land, if you make them follow the Greek way of life, by default, everybody else is going to start to follow the Greeks' way of life. So he's compelling them to also follow it too. Read on.
Verse 10. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together, and then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias, on this wise thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in the city, and strengthened with sons and brethren.
So now with the officer of the king, he's come up to Mattathias. He's saying, well, you're great. You know what I mean? Everyone has respect unto you. So he's trying to get him to submit, break the law, statutes, and commandments, and follow the Greek way of life. Read on.
Now, therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment.
So now he's saying, because you're so great, you come first, meaning not anybody else. He wants the best, he wants the high example of them to come and follow the king's commandment. Read on.
Like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem, so shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends.
So he's trying to bribe him. He's trying to say, if you do this, you'll be a friend of the kings, and you will be also amongst them. So he's saying, if you forget the law, statutes, and commandments, if you put that Bible down, then basically, you'll be one of the king's friends. Read on.
With silver and gold and many rewards. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
Now that's a very bold statement right there. At that time, if you wouldn't follow the way of the Greeks, you would die. And he's saying, well, I don't care. Although everybody else around you, they've forgotten their religions of the past. Me and my brethren, we're going to stick to the religion of our fathers. So he was letting him know, like, no, you know what I mean? I don't care how much you try to provide me, whatever you try to, basically whatever you want me to do to follow that Greek way of life. He said, no, we don't.
Verse 20, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
Yeah, so they're saying, no, we're going to walk in the covenant of who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the fathers that he's on about. He's saying, no, forget that Greek way of life. But you mean we're going to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. We done?
21, God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances we would not hearken to the king's word to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left.
Either on the right hand or the left, meaning anything outside of that, we are not going to consent unto that. We don't.
Now when he left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin.
So now, once he says no, there came a Jew. The base like, yes, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I want to be one of the king's friends. So, you know what I mean? One of them came out because he said no. You know what I mean? One came out saying, well, if he's not going to do it, I'm going to do it instead. Read on.
According to the king's commandment, which thing, when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal.
He was inflamed, meaning he was very angry, meaning that got him really angry. So he says no, and then someone else comes out and basically, you know, said the opposite. That got him really vexed. Read on.
And his reins trembled.
And his reins trembled. So on the horse that he was on, the reins is what you use to basically direct the horse. His reins trembled, so his hand was, you know what I mean? Basically, his hand was trembling while the reins was in his hand. Read on.
Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment.
So he was that angry, even his face showed that he was vexed. So he couldn't even hide it if he wanted to. Read on.
Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar, and the king's commissioners.
So basically, he didn't just kill the Jew that, you know, wanted to, you know what I mean, become friends with the Greeks. He also killed him and the commissioners of the kings too. So he was that angry, he killed him and the commissioners too. Read on.
Who compelled men to sacrifice. He killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down.
And the altar he also pulled down too. So that pagan altar that they wanted them to sacrifice on, he also ripped that down. Read on.
26. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Salam. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
Right, so now this is where the Maccabees rebellion began. So once he did that, he said, whoever wants to follow the law, so he's like, read that again, sorry. Verse 27.
And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
So he said to him, whoever wants to follow the law and maintaineth the covenant, that they must basically follow him. So now this is where the Maccabees revolt began. So once they did this act, you know, whoever wanted to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, they came with him. Read on.
Verse 20. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell therein.
So now those that, you know, they wanted to follow the laws and they wanted justice as well. What had happened unto the people, they also went with him. So now it's not just him and like his sons. Also now many Jews that, you know, was in the same like mind, they also came along with him. Read on.
Verse 30. Both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men had broken the king's commandment, were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they encamped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hereunto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live.
Yeah, so once they consult with them, like, what you've done, let it suffice us, meaning just let that be enough. So okay, you've rebelled, we can let that be in the past, but now just follow the king's commandments. So so with these Greeks, they was willing to let that go, going okay then, from but now from this point on, just follow the king's commandments, go in the gym, you know what I mean, play all the sports, forget the law, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
Verse 34, and they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed.
With all speed. So that means they just attacked them with all speed, meaning they didn't hesitate to swing that sword at all. So they just gave them the full vibration of war, basically. So they started just to chop them up. Read on.
Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid.
There, so them, because they had a belief that on the Sabbath day we don't fight. So now they had this belief that, well, we just can't fight. So now while they're being attacked, they didn't do anything. They didn't throw a stone at them. They didn't do anything to fight back. Read on.
Verse 37, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully.
So now, them thinking that is why they said, let us die in our innocency. So they can, well, they'll see that they've killed people that haven't done anything wrong, but they've done that from the beginning. When the king came and took everything out of the temples, you was innocent then. So so them having that mentality of, well, we haven't done anything wrong. They have already been unjustifiably killing you already. Read on.
38, so they rose up them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle, to the number of 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them very sore.
And when they heard Mattathias and them, they cried for them really sore. From there to First Maccabees 3:1, or just probably a bit before that. I know. So what to do? Go to First Maccabees 2:64. So First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 64.
First Maccabees 2:64. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law.
So now, before Mattathias died, he was talking to his sons that he had, and he's saying to them, wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in behalf of the law. So he's saying to them, in this battle that we are having against the Greeks, it's all about the law. Show yourselves men on behalf of the law. Read on.
For by it shall he obtain glory.
So for by the law ye shall obtain glory. So this is what it's all about. Now you can have the best weapons, the best, body armor, but really it comes down to you following the laws of the Most High. Verse 65.
And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel.
So now, him being a dad, obviously he's observed how his sons are. You know what attributes your sons have. You know what attributes your sons don't have as well. So now, in this war with the sons that he's got, he's telling them their strong points. Read on.
Give ear unto him always.
So now, with him, he was a good counselor. So he's saying, anything he says, pay attention unto that, because from young he's realized that that son of his there was a very good counselor. Read on.
He shall be a father unto you.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 66. As for Judas, Maccabeus. He has been mighty and strong.
So now with this son Judas, he realized that he was mighty and strong. So from young, always having fights. I mean, I'm just giving some examples. Always in fights, or always like to fight. So with this son, is saying he's always been strong. So that's the attribute in that son Judas that he has always seen. Also, it says Judas Maccabeus. Now remember, that's not his real name, Maccabeus. He got that through all the wars he had. Maccabee means like a sledgehammer, because he was that strong on beating the Greeks. His nickname was the hammer. So in the Hebrew, Maccabeus means Maccabah, and it's a hammer. So that's the name that he got because he was really strong, and in war he came down to them so strong that he was like an hammer. So continue reading.
Even from his youth up.
Even from his youth up, so from young he's been strong. So from small, always fighting, winning fights, even up until that time. Read on.
Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people.
And because he's got the attribute of being because he got the attribute of being mighty and strong, he said, let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. Read on.
Take also unto you all those that observe the law.
Now, if you notice, it says, take unto you all those that observe the law. So meaning anyone that don't follow the law, don't take them with you. So in any war, don't be taking people that do not follow the laws of the Most High. So even they knew a battle is not won by how strong you are, but by how much you're serving the Most High. Read on.
And avenge ye the wrong of your people.
And do what?
And avenge ye the wrong of your people.
And avenge you the wrong of your people. Why? Because the Greeks done us many wrongs. So now he's saying, you go into that war and you avenge that. You know what I mean? Or what they've done unto you because you will not follow the Greek way of life. You go out there and you avenge that. Read on.
Recompense fully the heathen and take.
And the word recompense means payback. So you pay them back. All those innocent killings that they have done, you pay them back. Read on.
Recompense fully the heathen and take heed to the commandments of the law.
And take heed to the commandments of the law. So 3 times is referring to the law, letting you know that this battle and this war is not about how strong you are, but how much you're observing the law and how much the Most High is going to be with you. Read on.
So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year. And his sons buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers at Modin. And all Israel made great lamentation for him.
There's a weird matter. He's dead now. Now his sons, they've taken up this campaign. They've taken up this revolt against the Greeks. First Maccabees 3:1.
First Maccabees 3:1. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus.
So now his son is Judas, called Maccabeus, or the hammer. So now that was the name that they had for him. Read on.
Rose up in his stead.
So now he rose up in his stead. So now once his dad died, he took up the position of his dad. Read on.
And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that helped with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel.
And they ran. So now, anyone that was with his dad, they fought with him too, and they fought gladly the battle. So now, the reason why they're glad in this, why? Because they're doing a very courageous act. A nation is trying to tell them, you can't follow the laws of God. You got to fight against that. So that's why in this battle, they're very glad about it. Read on.
So he got his people great honor.
So now he got the people great honor. The word honor means respect. So amongst the other people round about, because of the war that they had, they started to respect them, which is kind of like today as well. People don't respect us because all we do is beg. Now I'm not telling no one to go out there and fight and burn something down, but you have to fight to get respect. And when I talk about fight, I'm not talking about just a bare knuckle boxing match. I'm talking about you don't buy anything off them, you fight against them economically, and that's when you get respect. So now they did this here, but of course, this was a carnal war where they had to fight. But as you can see, they got the respect of the people round about. Read on.
And put on a breastplate as a giant,
Hmm.
and a girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles protecting the host with his sword. In his axe, he was like a lion.
He was like a lion man. He was wild. He'll see a line of Greeks and just cut them up. He just run at them. So now in war he was courageous. Read on.
And like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey.
A lion's whelp is a young lion. So he was like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. So when he seen an enemy, he just went for them, took him out. So in war, he was not a joke. When it was time for war, Greeks ended up dead. Read on.
And he pursued the wicked and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him.
And so the wicked, they was afraid of him, meaning all the Greeks and all the other people that was round about, they was afraid of him. Anytime you mention Judas Maccabeus, they was like, wow, him. And guess what? They was afraid. Why? Because of all the acts that he done through the power of the Most High. Read on.
And all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand.
Yeah, because salvation prospered in his hand. Now that word salvation just means being free from harm. So him protecting his people, that prospered in his hand. Why? Because he was fighting against those that was basically afflicting him. So that's why salvation prospered in his hands. Read on.
Verse 7. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his axe, and his memorial is blessed forever.
And there in his memorial is blessed. Why is it blessed? Because we're reading the book of Maccabees right now, and it's talking about him. So the acts that he did, they will never be forgotten. Why? Because we're reading about it from what he did way back then. Read on.
Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel.
There and turning away wrath. So why was wrath upon us in the beginning? Does anybody know? No. All right, no sweat. The reason why wrath was upon us because we wasn't following the law, statutes, and commandments. So when he went to war and he beat the Greeks, he was telling people back to the laws. So that's why wrath was not upon us, because we're coming back to the covenant. We're following the laws, those statutes, and those commandments. Read on.
Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel, so that he was renowned unto the uttermost part of the earth.
So he was renowned, meaning he was known to the uttermost parts of the earth. So all over, so based now to the farthest part of the earth, which will be Sabine. Everyone heard about him like this Judas Maccabeus. He's not no joke. You know what I mean? He's go in a town, kill all the Greeks, and he just turn them back to, and he'll turn the Jews back to law, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
And he received unto him such as were ready to perish. Then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together, and a great host out of Samaria, to fight against Israel.
So now Apollonius, he basically now in the time of the Greeks, over certain countries, they had basically little governors. So now this man, he's a governor around that part where like Judas Maccabees is. So now he got the Gentiles together and a host out of Samaria to fight against him. So even in Samaria, other people, they was following the ways of the Greeks, and they was under the Greeks control as well. So now he's got them to fight against us. Read on.
Verse 11. Which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many all fell down slain, but the rest fled.
There, so when Judas Maccabees heard that this man had got some people out of Samaria to fight against them, he didn't run away. He actually met with them and he smote them, meaning that he killed them, and many fell and the rest fled away. So he was a very courageous man. He didn't back down. He didn't go, well, you know what, I'll be group and I'll come back another time. He said, you know what, if they've been against me, then you know what I mean, we can go to war right now. And he won. He smote them, and the rest fled. Read on.
Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long.
And there ran basically all his life. He fought, and he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for us. Now, this is something that blacks and Hispanics need to get in their mind. Don't just think about yourself. Read about Judas Maccabees. He didn't just fight for himself. All his life, he was fighting for us. And likewise, we need to be the same as well. You know, stop thinking about yourself. You see another black or like Hispanic, and like they haven't got any help. It's your job to help them. It's your job to protect them as well. Like him, he fought for us all of his life long. Read on.
Now when Seron, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and a company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment.
So with this man, he wanted a name for himself. He thought, well, if I'm the man to be Judas Maccabees, you know, everyone will look up to me. I can get some more rank. So, you know, in his mind, that's a plan that he's got. But, you know, there's also a plan of the Most High too. Read on.
So he made him ready to go up. And there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to avenge of the children of Israel. Verse 16. And when he came near to the going up of Beth-horon, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company.
So now, this man, he got a big company, meaning the army that he has is really big. And now with Judas Maccabees, his army is really small. So now, as you can see, 9 times out of 10, the people that have the majority, they win. But of course, though, with us and us following the Most High, we can do things which commonly are not supposed to happen. But anyway, as we read on, it will explain itself. Read on.
Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day?
So now they're saying to Judas Maccabees, how can we fight them? There's basically a lot of them, and they're so strong too. We have been fasting all day. Now to fast is when you don't eat or drink. So they're saying we're weak, and there's a lot much more of them than us, and they're strong too. So how are we going to win this war? Read on.
Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few.
What did he say?
It is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few.
He's saying it don't matter if there's a lot of them. Us being a few, we can shut them up. So he was confident in the men that he had. Why? Because all of them follow the laws of the Most High. Like what his dad said unto him, get those that follow the law, those that obey the law, those that follow the covenant of the law. So he knew that it doesn't matter how much of them they are. If we're following the laws, we are going to win this fight. We done.
And with the God of heaven, it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company.
Yeah, so he's saying with the Most High, he don't care how much you have. Why? Because you're following the laws. He's not going to let you die. If you're fighting for the Most High, then he's going to fight for you too, which is in the Bible. We done.
For the wicked, Salaki, for the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of a host, but strength cometh from heaven.
So can anyone break it down?
Yeah, the strength comes from the Most High.
That's right. So the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude. So you can have lots of people. You can have a battle of an army of 100,000. It don't matter because why the victory comes from the Most High. That basically that great host that you have, they can all get put to death if they're not with the Most High. Read on.
Verse 20. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and children and to spoil us.
Mhm.
But we fight for our lives and our laws.
And they notice we fight for our lives and our laws. So they're fighting for the laws of the Most High. This fight ain't just for them. They care about the laws, statutes, and commandments that much. They're willing to die for it. Of course, you fighting for your wife. That's a common thing. You're supposed to. But the laws of the Most High, that's what they're fighting for too. That's why the Most High is on their side. You know?
Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be not afraid of them.
Yeah, so that's what he said unto them. He goes, wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. So meaning the Most High, he's gonna get us this victory. And as for you, so the people that was talking to him and was afraid, be not afraid of them, meaning you don't be afraid of them. You just serve the Most High, which is what this is all about. It's all about how much we serve the Most High, and through that you can overcome anything, any fight, physically or spiritually as well. We done.
Now as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them.
And as soon as he left off speaking, he just leapt suddenly upon him. So I just said that to his commander. He just ran into the war and just went into the war deep. So the Bible says he leapt upon him, meaning I don't know if he's on a rock or something, but he just jumped off that rock and started just chopping up some Greeks or he did something, but he just leapt upon him. So after he just said that, he just went to war. Any more on that?
Can't. And so Seren and his host was overthrown before him.
And they ran. He beat them. So although it was more than them, through the Most High, they won. So he started when just leapt upon him. Then obviously the men that were behind him, they also partook in the war too. So now after that, they had many wars. But now let's get into the Feast of Hanukkah. Let's get First Maccabees 4 and start at verse 28.
First Maccabees 4 and 28. The next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered therefore 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, and he might subdue them.
All right. So now, if you read First Maccabees 3 in your time, you realize that that's not the only war that he had. He had lots of wars. So now, this other man, he gathered together an host. And when it says choice men, mean that men that he picked up, he didn't just gather any bones that can't fight. He got the best of the best. So if you was good, you was handpicked. So now we're getting that strong that they had to actually handpick men to fight against us. We done.
So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men.
So now they had a lot of men. They had how much? 5,000 on horse and about 3,000 men on foot. So they got a lot. And even Judas Maccabees, he came with 10,000 men. So now, as you can see now, more people they're starting to get into the revolt. So now the army that Judas Maccabees has is starting to get bigger now too. Read on.
And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Saviour of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gave us the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer.
So now Judas Maccabees, he's going into Bible history over here. You can read about King David in the book of Samuel, and also Jonathan in the book of Samuel as well about the acts that they done, about how David beat Goliath. So now he's praying unto the Most High, and he's saying, you've done all these great acts. Read on.
Verse 31. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel.
So now he's saying, for what you did to them in the past, shut up them by the hand of us. Read on.
And let them be confounded in their power and horsemen.
And let them be confounded. The word confounded means to be ashamed. So let them be ashamed in their power and their horsemen. So now with them, so based now with the Greeks, they had trusted in this. They thought, we got the best men on foot and on horse as well. There's no way that we're gonna lose. So their confidence was very strongly in what they had.
Make them be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee.
So cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and to love the Most High is to keep His commandments. 1 John 5:3, 2 John 1:6. This is the love of God, that we keep His commandments. So he's saying, let us cast them down with like them that follow your commandments, which are them. Because all throughout the Bible, they was told to follow the law, zealous of the law. Read on.
And let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there was slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men.
So in the battle, they killed 5,000 men of this Lysias man. So now that's about a half of the men that he has in the battle. They are already dead, and this ain't through them. This is through the power of the Most High. Why? Because they're fighting for the laws of the Most High, and they care about the blacks and Hispanics, and they want them to follow the laws and not follow this Greek way of life. Read on.
Even before them were they slain. Verse 35. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas' soldiers.
So he saw the manliness of their meaning. They was ready to die. They were strong. He saw how tough that they could be. Even that made him afraid, which is like today as well. Many people in the UK think black people are all mouth. All you can do is talk, and you know what I mean. They won't fight till one day when someone does realize, what, we should not have been messing around with them, because that's a common thing that they have. They believe, black people all talk. They're not going to do anything till when one does realize, what, we should not have been messing with them from the beginning. But you can read that part again from the top.
Come. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas' soldiers, and how they were ready to live or die valiantly.
They was ready to live or die valiantly. The word valiantly means courageously. So he saw that they didn't care to live or to die, but they were going to fight that fight. Read on.
He went to Antocia and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he proposed to come again into Judah.
So he lost the first time. So he went to Antioch, because that was there, and Antiochia. That's where you get the word Antioch from. So now when you read Acts the 13th chapter, that's that same place that he went to there. So now anyway, he went there, and he went to get more men to come and fight against them, because he had lost the first time. We done.
Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
To do what?
Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
And that's where you get Hanukkah from. They went to go and cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. The word Hanukkah means dedication in the Hebrew, Hanukkah. So now we're going to see where this feast of Hanukkah comes from. We done.
Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burnt up, and the shrubs growing in the courts, as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, all the priest's chamber was pulled down.
So they went to the sanctuary and it was a mess. You know, there was grass growing all around it, shrubs, which are like branches. So they went to the temple and the temple was a mess. Read on.
They rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads and fell down to the ground with their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpet and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
Yeah, so now they're going to cleanse the sanctuary. Why? Because with the Greeks, they were sacrificing swine upon it and all obviously unclean things that we don't eat. So now, you know, while his men are basically fighting the remainders of the Greeks that are in the land, while they're doing that, he's going to, you know, rebuild the place, he's going to rededicate it. Read on.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out all the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down.
Yeah, so the sanctuary for the burnt offerings in which they had, they basically pulled it down. Why? Because the Greeks were sacrificing swine's flesh and anything unclean. So, you know, instead of them trying to wipe it down and, you know, just basically make it clean, instead, you know, it's best to just get rid of it all together. Read on.
46. And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them.
Yeah, so once they took the stones away, they put it in a convenient place, meaning a place that's good for now, to a prophet to show them what should be done with them. So they didn't know, but they go, well, we just rest them here till a prophet comes and he will basically show us what should be done with them stones. Read on.
Then they took whole stones according to the law.
Then they took what?
Whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former.
Then now in Exodus, I believe it's 20 and the last, not the last verse, but a few verses just before the end, it says that, you know, you can't use hewn stones, and a hewn stone is a cut stone. So now when it says they took whole stones according to the law, that is in the law in Exodus the 20th chapter. So in your own time you can look to read that, unless you want me to get that now. That's fine. All right, that's it. All right then. Yeah, continue reading.
And made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels.
So now, from what the Greeks took the candlesticks, the golden plates, the cups. So now they made some. So instead of them fighting for them back, they basically said, you know what, then we got to rededicate this place. So they made some more. Read on.
And into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple.
Yeah, so all the things that was taken away, they had made them, and they're restoring the temple to how it's supposed to be. Because obviously, because our people have rejected the laws with the temple, no one was looking after it. That's why when they went there, the gates was burnt, shrubs was all around it, because obviously they were too busy doing the javelins, shot puts, discus. They were more engulfed in that, and even the priests, they wasn't doing their job. So now them following the laws of the Most High, they're rededicating this temple. Read on.
Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which had begun to make.
So all the work which they had begun to make, they finished it. So how the temple was meant to look, they restored it, which is a very courageous thing to do. Like even today, when things are wrong, not many people are willing to fight for it to be right. But them being the men of God and the Most High being with them, they fought till everything was right. And with the temple as well, it has been restored. Read on.
Now on the 5th and 20th of the 9th month, which is called the month Casleo, in the 140 and eighth year, they rose up betimes in the morning.
There's now, it says, in the 5 and 20th day in the 9th month. Now, of course, in a European calendar, this will come in the December time, but in the 9th month, this is what it would be. So in the 5 and 29th month, which would be the day of Hanukkah, this is what we're doing right now. So in this day, we're going to explain why it is the feast of dedication, and also what you have to do in the feast of dedications too. Read on.
53. And offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even in that was it dedicated with songs and with citharans and harps and cymbals.
So also they even sang songs and they had instruments too. So now on the day that they had got the temple back, they was really happy. So people sang songs about it and also played instruments too. Read on.
Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshipping and praising God of heaven, whom had given them good success.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
They did what?
Kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
Yeah, so now this is where feast of dedication comes from, and the whole you cook for 8 days. Be done.
And offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrifice the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
Mm-hmm.
They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates of the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them.
Yeah, so how the temple looked at first, when like King and Theoshus came, he ripped all the things off the temple, all the gold and the valuable things, and with them, they had basically put that back on, and they also had restored the gates. So this is what the Feast of Dedication is about. When we got the temple back, read on.
Thus, there were very great gladness amongst the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
So the reproach of the Gentiles was basically put away, meaning us following that Greek way of life, us being oppressed by them, that was gone. Why? Because through the wars, they're gone. So now, we're back in control of Jerusalem. And again, the law, statutes, and commandments are back in place. Read on.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year.
And this is what we're doing. We keep this from year to year. So now, Judas Maccabees, he ordained this, that, to remember this. Remember that they had to fight to get that back. That they were basically burning books, and basically you could not follow your way of life, but you had to follow the Greek way of life. So he said, do this by year to year. So every year we remember the wars that they had and how they fought, so that they could follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
The days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 5 and 20th day of the month Casleo, with mirth and gladness.
Mm-hmm.
And that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before.
Yeah, so now once they had done the feast of dedication, then they made high strong walls round about, making sure that nobody would never come and do that ever again. Verse 61.
And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Yeah, that's what they did. And that's the feast of dedication right there. And it's important that all blacks and Hispanics, that we must remember that. Don't forget about that. Your foreparents had to fight just to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. And even this day, today, we gotta fight to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. There's many religions out there, many philosophies. And anytime you're feeling weak, or you feel like you're not strong enough to partake in this fight, read about Judas Maccabees, read about the acts that he done, read about King David as well. Let these words encourage you too. So that's the class. We're gonna get to prayers, but first off, remember to pay your tithes. It's a commandment. That's 10% of anything you earn. So, example, as always, you give £100, £10 goes towards tithes. Also, on the 19th of December, we have a lecture up at West Bromwich in Birmingham at the Afro-Caribbean Community Center. That'll be starting at 2 o'clock, finishing at 5 o'clock. So it's free. Make sure you come. Bring your kids. Bring anyone. Anyone who has any questions as well. Bring them as well. So remember to pay your tithes. And 19th of December, come to the lecture that we're going to have. It's going to be on World War III, how it relates to blacks and Hispanics, and also who are the real Jews. So there's going to be a lot of information going out in that lecture also as well. So this is the I.S.U.P.K. We're going to get to the announcements and the prayers as well.
We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, means 10th in the Hebrew. Mahishara, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like, upcoming holy conversations. Announce holy convocation from sheets. Remind Akim and Aqua to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf.
First prayer, the Lord's Prayer. We're going to rise and then face the east, which will be this way. I'll read it in Hebrew. So I think it's right. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamkar, Yahweh, Malakwafka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Baratazah, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim,
Bashamayim,
Thundanawa,
Thundanawa,
Lakam,
Lakam,
Kau,
Kau,
Yawam,
Yawam,
Wasalaknawa,
Wasalaknawa,
Kabawaknawa,
Hawafnawa,
Kasalaknawa,
Hasalaknawa,
Kabawakinawa,
Habawafnawa,
Wala'a,
Wala'a,
Tabayayanawa,
Tabayanawa,
Banasayawan,
Banasirawan,
Abad,
Abba,
Hawashainawa,
Hawashainawa,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Rai,
Rai,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Laka,
Laka,
Hamalakwa,
Hamalakwa,
Waha'ala,
Wa'ala,
Wahatapara,
Wahatapara,
Iwalamyam,
Wa'alayamyam,
Aman.
Aman. And in the English, Our
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thine will be done.
Thy will be done
in earth,
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread,
our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forget our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not
Lead us not
into
into
temptation,
temptation,
but deliver us
but deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
Thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it. All right. The Haka, the power, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bahashemi Hawashai,
Hashem Yahushai,
Baba Kusha,
Baba Kusha,
Nathundanawa,
Nathundanawa,
Haka,
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 Arapa'a,
Lafa'a,
Kau Makala,
Kau Makala,
Wakau Madawa,
Wakau Madawa,
Haka,
Haka,
Lataha,
Lataha,
Hamad Hazarayim,
Hamatazarayim,
Haka,
Haka,
Lahakwiyam,
Lahakwiyam,
Hamafiyam,
Hamafiyam,
Haka,
Haka,
Arakawa,
Arkawa,
Hatama'ala,
Hatama'ala,
Lagarishan,
Lagarishan,
Bahashemi Hawashai,
Hashem Yahushai,
Tawada Aman.
Wada Aman. And in English, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahweh
in
Shai,
the name of Yahushua,
please give us the power
please give us the power
to heal all manner
to heal all manner
of sickness
of sickness
and all manner of disease,
and all manner of disease,
the power to cleanse
the power to cleanse
the lepers,
the lepers,
the power to raise the
the
dead,
power to raise the dead,
the power against unclean
the
spirits,
power against unclean spirits,
to cast them
to
out
cast them out.
in the name of Yahweh
In
Shai.
the name of Yahushua,
Thank you, so be it.
thank you, so be it. All right, now the blessings. Barakatha Yahweh,
Barakatha Yahweh,
Wa Yahushua,
Wa Yahweh Shai,
Wa Mayaka'ala,
Wa Maka'ala,
Wa Alahayam,
Wa Alahayim,
Mataza Bi'ah,
Mataza Biyah,
Alawak Yohanna,
Alawak Yohanna,
Ha Alawakia,
Ha Alawakya,
Ha Saranya,
Ha Saranyam,
Ha Kwatazayalya,
Ha Kwatazayanyam,
Ha Kayayalyam,
Ha Kwalayanyam,
Wa Akwakyam,
Wa Akwakyam,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Hashem, Yahushai,
Wa Hashem Yahushai,
Tawada,
Tawada,
Aman.
Aman. And in English, bless you Yahweh,
Bless Yahweh,
and Yahweh Shai,
and Yahushai,
and Michael,
and Michael,
and the angels,
and the angels,
Commander General Yohanna,
Commander General Yohanna,
the generals,
generals,
the captains,
the captains,
the officers,
the officers,
troopers,
troopers,
and the
and
sisters.
the sisters.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahweh
in
Shai,
the name of Yahushai,
thank you,
thank you.
so be it.
So be it. All right, the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh,
Blessed are you, Yahweh,
King of heaven and earth,
King of heaven and earth,
and all things. Yeah, and all right, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahushai,
in the name of Yahweh Shai,
listen to us now,
listen to us now,
right now,
right now,
send them evils
send evils
and curses
and curses
and punishment
and punishment
and destruction
and destruction
and death
and death,
to the heathen
death to the heathens
that speak against us,
that speak against us,
thy prophets
thy prophets
and the teachers,
and the teachers,
the princes,
the princes,
the priests,
the priests,
the Israelite brothers,
the Israelite brothers,
and the school,
and the school,
send them evils
send evils
and curses
and
punishment
punishment
and destruction
and destruction
and death
and death,
to the heathen,
death to the heathen,
and shake loose the pockets
and shake loose the pockets
of the rich of Israel
and shake loose the pockets of Israel
that refuse to give to the school,
that refuse to give to the school,
force their riches
to
enter into thy sanctuary,
enter into thy sanctuary,
send it. It's like it. Send it. Evils and curses
send evils and curses
and punishment and destruction
and punishment and destruction
and death to the Edomites
and death to the Edomites
and the nations
and nations
and their drug dealers,
and their drug dealers,
the court system,
the court system,
the prison system,
the prison system,
Planned Parenthood,
Planned Parenthood,
all the governments of our enemies,
all the governments of our enemies,
Amalek, synagogues, and armies,
Amalek synagogue and armies,
the Roman Catholic Church,
the Roman Catholic Church,
the Pope, Islam, Christianity,
Egyptology,
militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, skinheads, Posse Comitazi, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space programs,
NASA space program,
the army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet, and the airways, the cable access channels, and the radio channels, convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift death to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your word throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the terrorists, call them to go to and fro through the earth and destroy. Call the terrorists to come against America and destroy them in their stronghold. Let America shake at the hands of the terrorists. Let Yahweh shine, Michael and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and kill all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Call it to be known by all that is the angels that have done it. Call it to be spread through the call it to be spread through the media, through the whole world. Call them to shake as I come in. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you always. So be it. Now the blessings. Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Barak Tenawa, Wayashua Allah, Wahabaya, Sapayam, Barak Rapap, Magun Hagun, Commanding General Yohanna, all the generals of the I.S.U.P.K,
all those that support the
I.S.U.P.K, and all those searching for the truth as well. Yeah, kind of that's it.
All the captains,
all the
generals,
all the
troopers,
all the officers,
all of Israel,
all
those searching for the truth,
the
Gordon family, the George family,
and that's it. All of Israel, and all those going to camp today. Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Tawada, Aman. What we just said was, Lord, in the name of Jesus, bless us and Israel and the school. Bless, heal, shield, protect. In the name of Jesus, thank you. So be it.